You didn't deny the racist thing.
Well, it depends on your definition of racist. I'm a segregationist, okay? I believe that God has commanded me not to mix with other races. For that reason, I want to have schools where I can send my children to a white school. I want to be able to go to my white neighborhoods, to white businesses, those things. So if that terms me as a racist, then I'm a racist.
What you've just seen is a grand wizard of the KKK make a huge strategic mistake. You see, Bill Wilkinson didn't come on television to admit who he was. He came to pretend that the Klan was simply a civil rights organization for white Americans.
White Americans are being treated as second-class citizens.
He was attempting to sanitize his position to make it palatable. This is what extremists do when they know that their real views are indefensible. They scrub their language of violence and hate.
Jews are running society, women need to shut the f*** up, blacks need to be imprisoned for the most part, and we would live in paradise. It's that simple.
Replacing it with the polite vocabulary of policy, law, and fairness.
What does the most part mean? What percentage of American blacks would you like to see in prison?
Whatever the percentages of the murderers.
They use euphemism, loaded language, they lean on dog whistles, and they reframe their ideology as reasonable concern. The mechanism is simple. Ignore the bloody history, obscure what they actually want to achieve, and focus entirely on present-day grievances. If they succeed, they trick the audience into treating them as legitimate political actors. If they fail, the gap between their polite words and their hateful reality is exposed for everyone to see.
When did you take in the Pat Buchanans? When I was a kid in Dubuque, Iowa, with the Ku Klux Klan, which was then fairly powerful in Indiana, about 1922 or 3, somewhere in there, you were anti-Catholic.
The Klan has had different views from time to time on lesser issues.
Why hello my fellow apes, I hope you are well. We're watching a forgotten interview from 1982, an episode of Crossfire featuring hosts Tom Braden and Pat Buchanan. And it's a quintessential lesson in how to platform a racist. Yes, it can be done responsibly. On one side, we have the imperial wizard Bill Wilkinson, trying to rebrand the Invisible Empire as a victim advocacy group. On the other, we have Tom Braden and Pat Buchanan, armed with the one thing that Wilkinson couldn't spin: his own documents.
Well, what are you saying it for then?
I'm not saying it.
Well, it says right here.
And for those of you thinking that this is just dusty history, stick around. The moves you're about to see, claiming reverse racism.
The Civil Rights Act, though, let's be clear, created a beast, and that beast has now turned into an anti-white weapon.
Obsessing over definitions.
So then what is racism? Am I racist?
And appealing to heritage are the exact same tactics used by white nationalists today. The costumes have changed, but the playbook hasn't.
When I say we and like our kind of people, and they, the people that are against us, it's those that that have a sense of American identity, that it's about the American people and their history, their heritage, going all the way back even before the founding, before the settlement of the North American continent, where we come from, who we really are, and putting that first.
We're going to watch that playbook get deployed, and then we're going to watch it get dismantled, step by step.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my humble duty tonight to introduce you to the Grand and Imperial Wizard of the Invisible Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, Mr. Bill Wilkinson. Oh, Imperial Wizard, can you tell me, and us, 100 years after your predecessors set the South aflame with the cross burnings, lynchings, and other events, you should be bothering this country still.
Braden's tone is deliberately mocking. By using the full title Grand and Imperial Wizard while listing cross burnings and lynchings, he highlights the absurdity of the costume against the horror of history and forces those facts into the audience's awareness before questions can even begin.
The Grand and Imperial Wizard of the Invisible Knights of the Ku Klux Klan, Mr. Bill Wilkinson.
Wilkinson is already in a lose-lose position. He either stays silent and lets the audience sit with the visions of lynchings and cross-burnings, or he pushes back and immediately finds himself on controversial ground, which is exactly where he doesn't want to be, because he's here to sanitize.
You should be bothering this country still.
To begin with, I believe a slight rebuttal is in order. for your opening statements are the opening statements that was made about the Klan. We are not anti-Catholic. We are not anti-Semitic. We believe in the white race. We believe that at this point in time that white Americans are being treated as second-class citizens, that the federal laws, the civil rights laws, have created a dual system of justice in this country. A set of federal laws that protects the interest of minorities.
And this is what sanitization looks like. Wilkinson ignores the lynching charge completely. He doesn't even acknowledge it happened. Instead, he attempts to reframe the Ku Klux Klan as a victim advocacy group.
White Americans are being treated as second-class citizens.
Notice the specific denials. Not anti-Catholic, not anti-Semitic.
We are not anti-Catholic. We are not anti-Semitic.
He's trying to shed the baggage of the 1920s Klan to appeal to a 1980s conservative audience. Not because the views have changed, but because the optics have to. He wants to debate policy, not terrorism. He wants to talk about affirmative action, not arson. He wants to rage against what we would now call wokeness. He's hoping that if he sounds reasonable enough, the audience will forget the hoods and the burning crosses altogether.
I can't see f***ing shit out of this thing.
We ready or what?
Oh, hold on, I'm f***ing with my oh.
Here's a story where you would expect the facts to just speak for themselves. Trump threatens to cut off all US trade with Spain over refusal to use military bases in Iran war. You see, Spain declined US military use of its bases for strikes on Iran. Trump threatened a full trade embargo.
So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
And so Prime Minister Sanchez responded with 3 words. No to war. Simple, right? And yet, Ground News shows 442 sources covering this story, 61 left, 62 right, and 109 centrist, with framing so different you'd be forgiven for thinking that they were reporting from separate planets. This level of insight is only possible thanks to Ground News, a website and app designed to make reading the news easier and more data-driven. Every day, they gather thousands of news articles from all across the world and organize them by story, with each coming with visual breakdowns of reporting bias, reliability, and ownership to give you a cleaner sense of how the news is being framed. Let's return to our story, and you can follow along at ground.news/rationality. The Hamilton Spectator, leaning left with high factuality, leads with Sanchez as the protagonist. Spain's Sanchez stands firm on opposition to war in Iran despite Trump's trade threat, warning the conflict risks playing Russian roulette with millions. One courageous leader holding the line against Washington. Then there's WLT report, far right with low factuality. Breaking. President Trump cuts off all trade with Spain. Trump is tired of being treated unfairly. And Spain's PM is of course dismissed as their leftist PM. No geopolitics, no alliance considerations, no nuance. Just a victory lap. And Euronews, centrist with very high factuality, simply reports no to war. Sanchez reaffirms Spain's stance on Trump's Iran campaign. No heroes, no villains, just what happened. Same event, 3 completely different stories. And without Ground News, most people would only ever see one of them. If you want to start seeing the full picture for yourself, right now you can get 40% off Ground News' Vantage plan at ground.news/rationality, or scan the QR code on screen now. You'll be supporting independent media and, indeed, this channel at the same time. Thanks.
A set of federal laws that protects the interest of minorities and local and state laws.
But Grand and Imperial Wizard, if I may,
of white people.
If I may interrupt, if I might be so bold as to interrupt the Imperial Wizard, it says on a sheet that you people hand out to the young and the youths of our high schools, it says, if you want to join the Klan, quote, "I swear that I am of white, non-Jewish heritage. Are you fed up with special privileges given to blacks?" That's a quotation from your own literature.
You see, Braden wasn't just listening, he was waiting, and Wilkinson walked right into it by claiming we are not anti-Semitic.
We're not anti-Semitic.
Braden immediately produces a physical document, a recruitment flyer, one that requires members to swear that they have non-Jewish heritage, an act that destroys Wilkinson's credibility from the very first exchange. It's not Braden's opinion versus Wilkinson's, it's Wilkinson's word versus Wilkinson's ink. The paper doesn't lie. The paper says exactly what the Klan requires of its members. And now Wilkinson has to untangle that.
It says, if you want to join the Klan, quote, I swear that I am of white, non-Jewish heritage. Are you fed up with special privileges given to black?
Now, this is the first thing you must do if you're going to platform a racist. You must be prepared. Braden knew exactly what Wilkinson would claim, exactly what he would deny, and he had the receipts ready. Because once you understand how sanitization works, it is very, very predictable.
Are you fed up with special privileges given to blacks? That's a quotation from your own literature.
Absolutely. We are a Christian.
What do you mean you're not anti-Semitic?
We are a Christian organization. We also don't allow Buddhists or Muslims or atheists.
Notice the pivot. Wilkinson tries to make the exclusion of Jews sound like a matter of religion. We are a Christian organization, don't you know? Rather than what it actually is. Bigotry. He then lists other groups, Buddhists, Muslims, atheists, to dilute the specific focus on Jews, trying to hide hate behind religious freedom.
We also don't allow Buddhists or Muslims or atheists.
The logic is, don't call us anti-Semitic, we hate everybody.
I hate everyone just the same.
But nobody's fooled. Nobody's walking into a Klan rally worried about Buddhist infiltration. Yet underneath the absurdity, this is a tactic worth recognizing. When you catch an extremist in a specific lie, they try to bury it in a list. They widen the frame so that the one thing you caught them on looks like it's just one of many. Don't let them. Keep the focus narrow. Braden caught him on anti-Semitism, and that is the thread to pull.
We also don't allow Buddhists or Muslims or atheists in the organization.
When did you take in the Pat Buchanans? When I was a kid in Dubuque, Iowa, the Ku Klux Klan, which was then fairly powerful in Indiana, about 1922 or 3, somewhere in there. You were anti-Catholic.
The Klan has had different views from time to time on lesser issues.
Lesser issues. Let that land for a moment. He just categorized the terrorizing of millions of Catholics as a minor administrative detail.
On
Lesser issues.
This is sanitization at work. History isn't something to apologize for, it's just policy that evolves. He's shrugging off a century of violence as a platform update. And the uncomfortable truth is, that's not far from what actually happened. When the Klan was stronger, it could afford to target Catholics openly, and that's what it did. But by the 1980s, that strength had waned, and gaining political influence required a broader tent. The hatred, then, didn't disappear, it just got strategic about who to include.
The Klan has had different views from time to time on lesser issues.
Mm-hmm.
The one issue we've never changed on is that of segregation. We believe that God has commanded us to separate ourselves from other races. In fact, that's not a unique stand. Billy Graham, just a few years ago, himself segregated his crusade audiences. He preached segregation. The Southern Baptist and the National Baptist, one was black, one was white. They practiced and preached segregation.
In a slimy yet admittedly clever way, Wilkinson invokes Billy Graham, arguably the most influential Christian evangelist of the 20th century, to normalize segregation. The logic is simple. If Billy Graham did it, how can you condemn us for doing it?
That's not a unique stand. Billy Graham, just a few years ago, himself segregated his crusade audiences. He preached segregation.
But here's the thing. It's a lie. Billy Graham desegregated his events in the early 1950s. Wilkinson is banking on an audience not knowing the timeline. And this is precisely why, again, preparation matters. Not just for the hosts, but for everyone watching. Claims like these sound authoritative in the moment. I mean, appreciate how confidently Wilkinson said this. They only fall apart when someone checks the facts. And in a live setting, if nobody catches it, it just sits there, unchallenged, absorbed.
They practice and preach segregation, so we didn't invent segregation, we just still believe in it.
There it is, after all the dancing, a firm commitment. Wilkinson admits that he still upholds the same views. Segregation isn't history to him, it is the current goal. He's not disavowing the past, he's claiming the future. Remember this moment, because Buchanan will come back to it.
We didn't invent segregation, we just still believe in it.
Let me ask you about something, and you did correct it, let me say, before the show started, something I was unaware of. But there are a number of Klan organizations, and I gather it is not yours, who march in tandem, arm in arm, with members of the American Nazi Party. Now, the Nazis were responsible for the murder, not simply of Jews in Germany, but American pilots, American soldiers. They're guilty of all manner of horrid atrocities. They have on their, I guess, on their record some 250,000 American dead. Now, why would any patriotic American, or one who calls himself a patriotic American, be anywhere near the swastika, the insignia of Hitler's Germany?
Now, this is worth noting, because this is the second technique you need if you're going to platform a racist. Attack from within their own value system. Wilkinson's entire sanitized image rests on patriotism. He's the real American fighting for the real America. So Buchanan doesn't use human right arguments. He doesn't appeal to tolerance or diversity. He uses American blood.
They have on their, I guess, on their record some 250,000 American dead.
250,000 dead soldiers. He takes the Klan's alliance with neo-Nazis and reframes it, not as racism, but as treason. He just made standing next to the swastika the most un-American thing imaginable. And now, Wilkinson's own mask is about to be used against him.
Now, why would any patriotic American, or one who calls himself a patriotic American, be anywhere near the swastika, the insignia of Hitler's Germany?
Well, as you conceded before the show, I did clear up that point. The Klan, the Invisible Empire, which I head, detests Nazis as much as we do communists. But I'd like to make one thing clear, that there's too much hype today about the Germans and the Nazis. Let's not forget that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and they led to death marches in Bataan. I don't believe that we should condemn all of the Germans for something that happened in Germany 40 years ago.
Wilkinson can't defend the Nazi alliance, so he reaches for the oldest trick in the book. Change the subject. He brings up Pearl Harbor. He brings up the death marches. He drags in Japan, because any conversation is better than the one he's currently losing. This is what it looks like when sanitization hits a wall. He can't reframe it. He can't deny it. And so he just runs. But in the scramble, he lets something slip that's far more revealing than any deflection. He says there's too much hype about the Germans and the Nazis.
There's too much hype today about the Germans and the Nazis.
Too much hype, he says. He's talking about the Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, and he's calling it hype. That is not a pivot. That is not spin. That's Holocaust minimization, said out loud on national television.
Too much hype.
And this is exactly the kind of moment Buchanan was trying to create. Because anyone watching, anyone neutral, anyone unfamiliar with the Klan, anyone tuning in for the first time, has just seen this man minimize the Holocaust on live television. The sanitization isn't just failing, it's backfiring. He came here to win people over, and instead he's showing them exactly who he is.
I don't believe that we should condemn all of the Germans for something that happened in Germany 40 years ago. And I do condemn what Hitler did to any...
Why would any patriot, someone who calls himself a patriot, and the Klan's groups with which I guess you're associated with members, if not the leadership, why would they march with people who march under the swastika?
We don't.
You don't. Why do your colleagues do that?
I believe, to make it clear at first, we're the only national Klan organization left. There have been those that have come and gone. It's sort of like the political parties, the Democrats, Republicans, American independents. They come and they go. They splinter and they regroup and rejoin. Right now, we are the major unquestioned Klan organization in America. There's some people that we have expelled from our organization that will start other branches. In their anxiety to get membership and support, they will join with anyone, including Nazis.
Wilkinson claims that Nazi-aligned Klansmen are expelled members or splinter groups. This is classic No True Scotsman, redefining criteria to exclude counterexamples. And strategically, it's doing something very specific. It allows him to condemn Nazis on camera without condemning the ideology that attracts them. He gets to say, "We detest Nazis," while leading an organization built on the very same white supremacist foundations.
There's some people that we have expelled from our organization that will start other branches.
He's keeping the distance between himself and the swastika just wide enough for the audience to give him the benefit of the doubt. But make no mistake, the Klan members that can see through the dog whistle see it for what it is.
In their anxiety to get membership and support, they will join with anyone, including Nazis.
This is not your organization, doesn't believe that. But I believe a quote by you I read in a book on the Klan today. you were denouncing the, quote, I think it was Jew-controlled media. Have you used that term?
Let's really appreciate what just happened here. Buchanan let Wilkinson distance himself from the Nazis.
And I do condemn what Hitler did.
From overt anti-Semitism.
We're not anti-Semitic.
And the moment Wilkinson felt safe, the moment he thought he had escaped, Buchanan produces a direct quote. Jew-controlled media.
You were denouncing the, quote, I think it was Jew-controlled media.
He read a book on the Klan that day. He knew the quote was there. And he waited until Wilkinson had finished denying anti-Semitism before he used it. That is brilliant.
You were denouncing the, quote, I think it was Jew-controlled media. Have you used that term?
I may have used that term.
It's a direct quote.
I may have used that term some years ago.
What do you mean by that?
But I don't mean by that anything at this point in time. I believe that a lot of Jews are prominent in the media, but I believe that a lot of Baptists and a lot of Methodists and a lot of other people are.
All right, so Wilkinson has clearly realized by this point that his opponents have done their homework and has quotes ready. He can't deny saying it, and so he retreats into chronology some years ago, hoping that time will soften the words.
I may have used that term some years ago.
When that doesn't work, he tries to dilute again. Jews are prominent, but so are Baptists.
A lot of Jews are prominent in the media, but I believe that a lot of Baptists and a lot of Methodists and a lot of other people are.
It's the same move he tried with the Christian organization defense. Widen the frame, bury the specificity, hope that nobody notices. But people do notice. This is exactly how you expose sanitization. You keep pulling the thread, keep producing the evidence, and let the audience watch the story unravel for themselves.
But I believe that a lot of Baptists and a lot of Methodists and a lot of other people are.
Why would you use the term Jew-controlled media? I mean, you don't run around saying the Baptist-controlled media is keeping us off the air, do you?
This is a phenomenal piece of questioning. By asking why Wilkinson doesn't say Baptist-controlled media, Buchanan exposes the logic underneath the language. Nobody says Baptist-controlled anything because nobody believes Baptists are secretly coordinating to suppress the Klan. Only one group gets that treatment, and that reveals the prejudice underneath the policy language. Simple question, great preparation, devastating answer.
I mean, you don't run around saying the Baptist-controlled media is keeping us off the air, do you?
I no longer use that term. It's been a number of years ago that I would have made that comment, and I'm not apologizing for what I might have said at that time.
And here, Wilkinson is cornered. He claims he no longer uses the term. That's the sanitization.
I no longer use that term. It's been a number of years ago that I would have made that comment.
But refuses to apologize for it. That is the signal to his base.
I'm not apologizing for what I might have said at that time.
He wants to have it both ways. Polite for TV, defiant for the rally. The audience at home sees moderation. The followers at home see loyalty. Buchanan just forced him to perform that split live on camera. And to those paying attention, they can see both faces. Well played.
And I'm not apologizing for what I might have said at that time.
All right, let's talk about blacks.
All right.
Why?
Wait a minute. I want to go. My brother came back from the airborne in Vietnam, and he told me, and that of the bodies that he took out as a medical officer, he said, 50% of those guys were black kids. Mm-hmm. Served in the United States and Vietnam. This was it was a crack frontline unit, and these were American blacks who died in higher numbers for their country in Southeast Asia in that war. Than did white Americans, as a matter of fact, in the Vietnam War. Now, how can you be against a race which contains people who are out there fighting for their country just as much as white Christian Protestant Americans are?
Once again, Buchanan attacks from within Wilkinson's own value system. He uses the recent trauma of Vietnam, specifically black sacrifice, to make Wilkinson's racism look like ingratitude. And he frames the contradiction in a way that's impossible to escape. You cannot claim to be protecting Americans or despising the men who bled for it. You cannot wrap yourself in the flag while spitting on the graves of those who died defending it.
And these were American blacks who died in higher numbers for their country in Southeast Asia.
And notice that these are not abstractions. These are body bags. These are his brother's patients.
Of the bodies that he took out as a medical officer, he said, 50% of those guys were black kids.
Buchanan isn't making a philosophical point, he's making it personal, and Wilkinson has nowhere to go.
How can you be against a race which contains people who are out there fighting for their country just as much as white Christian Protestant Americans are?
That's something else that needs to be cleared up, Pat. We're not against the black race. We believe in free enterprise for this country. We believe that everyone should have the same rights.
The imperial wizard of the Ku Klux Klan is now claiming his organization supports equal rights. This is the peak of the sanitization effect, the most audacious lie of an entire interview. And Braden, true to form, has exactly what is needed to destroy it.
We believe that everyone should have the same rights.
Well, Mr. Wizard, it says right here, wait a minute, Mr. Wizard. Let me interrupt you for a minute, Mr. Wizard. It says right here, you believe in the final solution, which is black repatriation to Africa.
This is the second document trap of the interview. Braden produces another piece of Klan literature, proving that Wilkinson supports repatriation to Africa. That is forced deportation. Ethnic cleansing by policy. Seconds after claiming we believe that everyone should have the same rights,
we believe that everyone should have the same rights.
Wilkinson's own printed material calls for removing black Americans from the country.
It says right here, you believe in the final solution, which is black repatriation to Africa.
See the pattern? When Braden brought up the exclusion of Jews, he knew Wilkinson would try to sanitize it, and he was ready with the recruitment flyer. When Buchanan brought up black patriots, he knew Wilkinson would claim to support equal rights. Again, preparation, and Braden was ready with the repatriation literature. They're not reacting to Wilkinson's lies, they're anticipating them. Because once you understand that an extremist's entire game is sanitization, their moves become incredibly predictable, and that means that you can have the receipts ready before they even finish the lie.
You believe in the final solution, which is black repatriation to Africa. Now,
Abraham Lincoln, but now look, I'm not going to be cut off in the middle.
No, but I'm not going to be shut off either. You're running around on a bed sheet. I don't have the bed sheet. But I just want to tell you, I want to ask you this question. Can you imagine this country repatriating all the black Americans that Pat just spoke about to Africa?
No.
I mean, what kind of nonsense
No, I
is
can't.
that? Well, what are you saying it for then?
I'm not saying it.
Well, it says right here.
No, that's your paper. That's not my paper.
That's your paper. I took the quote and wrote it on this blue paper.
That's not my paper.
Faced with his own words, Wilkinson simply says, "That's not my paper." Just flat denial. It doesn't matter that Braden is holding the quote. It doesn't matter that it's printed and verifiable. Wilkinson just pretends it doesn't exist.
Well, it says right here.
No, that's your paper. That's not my paper.
That's your paper. I took the quote and wrote it on this blue paper.
That's not my paper.
This is what happens when the sanitization collapses completely. They have nowhere left to go except denial. Not reframing, not recontextualizing, just no. It's a sign that you've won the exchange. When they stop spinning and start simply denying reality, you've broken through.
That's not my paper.
And anyone watching with an open mind can see it. The people you were never going to reach, they were lost before the interview started. But the people in the middle, the ones who might have been curious about what the Klan actually stands for, they just watched a man deny his own literature on live television. That's the moment you're doing all of this for.
Well, it says right here.
No, that's your paper. That's not my paper.
That's your paper. I took the quote and wrote it on this blue paper.
That's not my paper. Now, to get back to it, now just a minute, I answered your question. Now, I want to finish what I was saying. We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people, and there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now. And we're asking for an end to that.
Look. Wilkinson realizes that he's losing on deportation. So he forces a pivot to affirmative action. He's retreating to safe ground, a topic where he might find agreement with the conservative host. He's trying to escape from KKK extremism to standard right-wing grievance politics. Different battlefield, more sympathetic terrain.
We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people.
This is important to recognize, because it's another move in the playbook. When the conversation gets dangerous, extremists will try to drag it onto ground where they sound like mainstream conservatives. They want to blur the line between their position and standard conservatives. Refuse them. That is what Buchanan does next.
Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now. And we're asking for an end to that.
Look, I'm against reverse discrimination. I'm against racial quotas. I'm against affirmative action as it's practiced. But you said, when I introduced you, I didn't say that your organization was. I said, historically, to most Americans, you're anti-Catholic and anti-Semitic and racist. In other words, anti-black. You said, we're not anti-Catholic.
Right.
We're not anti-Semitic. You didn't deny the racist thing.
And here is the third technique. Notice what they don't say. Buchanan does something brilliant here. He agrees with Wilkinson on affirmative action, closing that escape route entirely.
I'm against reverse discrimination. I'm against racial quotas. I'm against affirmative action as it's practiced.
And then circles all the way back to the very beginning. He's noticed an admission. Wilkinson denied 2 labels, but silently accepted the third. He said, "We're not anti-Catholic and we're not anti-Semitic," but he never said, "We're not racist."
We are not anti-Catholic. We are not anti-Semitic.
That silence was an admission, and Buchanan has held on to that for minutes, waiting for the exact moment to use it.
You didn't deny the racist thing.
Well, it depends on your definition of racist. I'm a segregationist, okay?
The game is up. After all of it, after claiming that we're not against the black race, after insisting that his organization believes in equal rights,
we're not against the black race. We believe that everyone should have the same rights.
After all of the careful sanitization, Wilkinson drops the mask, admitting that he's a segregationist.
I'm a segregationist.
Which is like saying that I'm not sexist, I just think that women belong in the kitchen. Friends, that is the same thing. He can no longer sustain the lie.
I'm a segregationist, okay? I believe that God has commanded me not to mix with other races. For that reason, I want to have schools where I can send my children to a white school. I want to be able to go to my white neighborhoods, to white businesses, for those things. So if that terms me as a racist, then I'm a racist.
Then I'm a racist, so says the Grand Wizard of Cringe. And in doing so, he has fully abandoned the civil rights organization pretense. Quite the journey, huh? He began this interview claiming to represent the interests of white Americans through legal advocacy.
The federal laws, the civil rights laws, have created a dual system of justice in this country.
And with just a little bit of pressure from the hosts and a whole lot of preparation, he's now confirming exactly what Buchanan charged him with in the opening minute.
So if that terms me as a racist, then I'm a racist.
The sanitization has completely collapsed, and this is what sustained pressure does. If you keep the questions coming, if you keep producing evidence, if you notice what they avoid, eventually the mask does come off. It has to, because the lie is exhausting to maintain, and the truth is always simpler.
So if that terms me as a racist, then I'm a racist.
Wait a minute, you can do that, but you can't have tax exemptions in your all-white school. And if it's a public school, now black kids whose parents' taxes pay for that school, they got a right to go to that neighborhood school. Now, if you want an all-white school, all-white academy, you can do that right now. You just don't get a tax exemption for it. So what's your complaint?
Buchanan strips away the last layer of victimhood. Wilkinson isn't being oppressed. He's free to be a racist in private. He just can't make taxpayers fund it. So, what exactly is the complaint?
You can do that right now. You just don't get a tax exemption for it. So what's your complaint?
You say you can do that. Now, maybe I can, maybe you can, but what about the poor people that don't have the money to send their children to private schools? They can't. They're being deprived the right to practice their religion because they don't have the money to send them to a private school. There's no reason why in this great land of ours we couldn't have a 3-tiered school system, a black school and a white school and an integrated school, and give everyone their choice. We would have much less dissension, we would have much less racial problems in the schools. And if those people that are seeking to integrate the races in this country really were seeking to do the best for both races, they would adopt this system and let integration proceed gradually.
Even after admitting that he's a racist, Wilkinson can't help himself. He's still sanitizing. A 3-tiered school system, a black school, a white school, and an integrated school. He's trying to make apartheid sound like a school choice.
3-tiered school system, a black school and a white school and an integrated school, and give everyone their choice.
And look, we need to really appreciate how he packages this, because this is where 1982 sounds exactly like 2026. He's using the language of freedom. Give everyone their choice. He's using the language of fairness. Let integration proceed gradually. He's framing state-sponsored segregation as common sense. And notice what's completely absent from his argument. Any acknowledgement of why integration was necessary in the first place. The centuries of systemic advantage, the decades of deliberate exclusion, the fact that black Americans weren't given choice about segregation in the first place. He erases all of that history and presents the current state of affairs as the level playing field that white people are now unfairly losing on.
They're being deprived the right to practice their religion because they don't have the money to send them to a private school.
Now, if that sounds familiar, it should. It's the exact same framework that Donald Trump built his campaigns on. Strip away the context, ignore the history, and repackage white grievance as a fight for equality. The late Charlie Kirk did it frequently.
We note in our piece that Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true. And Kirk's self-described very, very radical view that the country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true.
They are conditioned to believe white bad, black good. White bad, black good.
Tucker Carlson does it frequently.
The Great Replacement is not only real, it's the realest thing there is.
We've all internalized this hate white people thing.
It's the playbook that launched 1,000 grifts. Wilkinson's mask is on the floor, and he's still trying to pick it up and hold it in front of his face.
And if those people that are seeking to integrate the races in this country really were seeking to do the best for both races, they would adopt this system and let integration proceed gradually.
What do you think our founding fathers meant when they said "we, the people of the United States"?
Well, I won't get into that debate, but...
Well, I know, but you're sitting here in your bedsheet telling us all that the only thing you're against...
You're really upset about my bedsheet,
Oh,
aren't
yeah,
you?
I think, if I were you, I would be so ashamed of myself. I mean, I can't imagine walking around in that silly costume telling people to be against blacks and against Jews.
Have you ever seen the Pope and the Cardinals in their costumes?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give him this. Religious pomposity is pretty pathetic. But trust a racist to make me, of all people, defend of all institutions, the Catholic Church. Wilkinson is comparing his Klan robe to the Pope's vestments.
Have you ever seen the Pope and the Cardinals in their costumes?
Yeah.
And in the act, trying to steal the legitimacy of the Church, the same institution he earlier dismissed as a lesser issue to dignify his costume.
You were anti-Catholic.
The Klan has had different views from time to time on
lesser issues.
Here's the false equivalence. The Pope's robes are ceremonial vestments. The Klan hood exists to hide your face while you terrorize people. When you're comparing yourself to the Vatican to justify your outfit, you've run out of substance entirely.
Have you ever seen the Pope and the Cardinals in their costumes?
Yeah, but they're religious and they're for something, and you're just nothing but against something, and you're against the very spirit of this country.
I believe in the same God.
You're against the thing.
No, we're not.
You're against the thing that makes this country a unity and that makes this country great. And I think you're a disgrace.
Notice that once again, Braden is pulling on the values that make America. He isn't just expressing frustration, he's illustrating that Wilkinson stands against the very heart of the country. It's the same move that Buchanan made with the dead soldiers, using the values that Wilkinson claims to hold against him.
You're against the thing that makes this country a unity and that makes this country great.
And then Braden stops debating and delivers a verdict. You are a disgrace. The engagement is over. Wilkinson is no longer being treated as a participant in a dialogue. He's being treated as a moral failure.
I think you're a disgrace.
You know nothing about what I believe and what I
just heard what you believed.
That single line, "I just heard what you believe," is perhaps the most important line of the entire interview. It says, I don't need to guess. I don't need to interpret. You told me. You told everyone. And that's why this approach works. The hosts didn't put words in Wilkinson's mouth, they created the conditions for him to put them there himself.
I just heard what you believed.
And you think
now you tell
wrong?
me,
I believe in God. Is that wrong?
Do you deny that you said this, this is the literature you're handing out to schools, to school children in America? I just quoted this from your own pamphlet. Are you fed up, it says here, with blacks following you home, trying to beat you up?
That's
Do you
right.
deny that you said that?
No, I don't. And let me tell you, that happens more times in America than what you can shake a stick at.
Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more.
And let me tell you, that happens more times in America than what you can shake a stick at.
And there goes the last shred of patience. The man who said, we're not against the black race, is now defending his own recruitment flyer. One that warns white children, black people will follow them home and beat them up. He's not even trying to explain it away anymore. He's validating it. The sanitization is completely gone.
No, I don't. And let me tell you, that happens more times in America than what you can shake a stick at. Blacks.
Try to follow you home and beat you up. I mean,
We've had more racial problems
You're a damn
than muggings.
disgrace to the country.
No,
Oh,
Tom.
yes, you are.
I have a strong belief.
And you know
in
what?
fact,
You people
in
were
fact,
beaten. I don't know what we're doing in 1982 talking to you.
You people were beaten Braden declares victory, not just in this debate, but in history. The civil rights movement won. Integration happened. The Klan lost.
You people were beaten.
He strips away any power or fear that Wilkinson is trying to project. You're not a threat. You are a relic.
I don't know what we're doing in 1982 talking to you.
Well, that's your problem, Tom. But let me tell you one thing. I'm not beaten, the Klan is not beaten, and the white race is not beaten. No more than the Democrats is beating or the Republicans is beaten. They're all fighting for the things that they believe in, and we believe in something.
All right, what do you believe in?
Earnestly, through the law.
Well, let's get
Now you tell me what you were against. What do you believe in?
What we believe in.
What are you for?
We believe in God, we believe in the United States of America, and we believe that God has commanded us to separate ourselves from other races. Not because we hate the other races or because we feel that we're better or worse, but because we feel it's God's commandment. And if you criticize that and our religion, then you're criticizing the Christianity for the last 2,000 years.
In the final seconds, Wilkinson retreats behind God. By framing segregation as divine commandment, he tries to make criticism of the Klan an attack on Christianity itself.
And we believe that God has commanded us to separate ourselves from other races.
And this should send chills down your spine, because it's the exact same move we see today. Trump wraps himself in the Bible. White nationalists cloak their politics in Christian identity. Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, the entire MAGA industry is predicated on what? Christianity, apparently. And there is a reason for this. Religion is the ultimate shield. You can argue with policy, you can fact check a claim, you can expose a lie with a document. But the moment someone says God commanded it, they've moved the conversation from evidence to faith. And faith, by definition, doesn't require proof. It's all about feelings. That's why it's always the last refuge. When every other justification has been stripped away, God is the one authority you can't cross-examine.
You didn't deny the racist thing.
Well, it depends on your definition of racist.
And with that, the interview is over. Let's step back and appreciate what we've just seen. Wilkinson came to sanitize, and he left exposed. He began by claiming to be a civil rights leader for white Americans.
White Americans are being treated as second-class citizens. Federal laws, the civil rights laws, have created a dual system of justice in this country.
We're not anti-Semitic, not against blacks. We believe everyone should have the same rights. How lovely.
We are not anti-Catholic. We are not anti-Semitic. We're not against the black race. We believe that everyone should have the same rights.
And he ended by admitting that he's a racist and a segregationist who believes that God commands separation.
So if that terms me as a racist, then I'm a racist. I'm a segregationist, okay? And we believe that God has commanded us to separate ourselves from other races.
So how did it happen? What did Braden and Buchanan actually do? First, they were prepared. They had Wilkinson's own documents, recruitment flyers, printed literature.
It says, if you want to join the Klan, quote, I swear that I am of white, non-Jewish heritage. Are you fed up with special privileges given to blacks? That's a quotation from your own literature.
Direct quotes from books.
A quote by you I read in a book on the Klan today. You were denouncing the quote, I think it was Jew-controlled media. Have you used that term?
Every time he lied about what the Klan stands for, they pulled out proof of what the Klan actually said. You cannot do this without preparation. So, if you are going to give a platform to someone dangerous, you must know their material better than they do. In my opinion, that is a prerequisite. If you don't do that, you are genuinely doing the world a disservice. Second, they attacked from within his value system. Buchanan didn't lecture Wilkinson on human rights or tolerance. He used patriotism, American sacrifice, and military service.
Why would any patriotic American, or one who calls himself a patriotic American, be anywhere near the swastika, the insignia of Hitler's Germany? How can you be against a race which contains people who are out there fighting for their country just as much as white Christian Protestant Americans are?
The things that Wilkinson claims to care about and turn them against him. When you challenge an extremist using values they can't disown, they have nowhere to hide. Third, they notice what he didn't say. Wilkinson denied being anti-Catholic. He denied being anti-Semitic. He never denied being racist. Buchanan caught that silence and held on to it for the entire interview. He deployed it when he saw fit.
You said, we're not anti-Catholic.
Right.
We're not anti-Semitic. You didn't deny the racist thing.
What people avoid telling you, what they don't say, is often more revealing than what they volunteer. And fourth, they kept the pressure on. They didn't let Wilkinson control the conversation. Every time he tried to retreat to safe ground, affirmative action, school choice, religious freedom, they dragged him back to the thing he was trying to escape, what the Klan actually is, in its own words. This is how you platform a racist. Not by giving them a soapbox, not by debating them as if their positions have equal merit, but by coming prepared, using their own words, and letting sustained pressure of honest questioning do what it always does: force the truth out. The costumes may have changed since 1982. The playbook hasn't. And now, neither should ours.
If I were you, I would be so ashamed of myself. I mean, I can't imagine walking around in that silly costume telling people to be against blacks and against Jews.
Anyhow, as always, thank you kindly for the view, and an extra special thank you to everyone who supports the channel, including today's sponsor, Ground News.